Hey, HTDA, and today I was making an analysis of all the leaders currently in the game, and I figured that might be useful for you as well, so let me get started because we have quite a few to cover. Amina is great. The additional gold from resources not just strong in the early game, it's going to get stronger and stronger as the ages progress, for something you will be doing anyway, so that makes her very easy to play in whatever strategy you're trying to do, because gold is always useful. The combat strength, on the other hand, for all units in plains and deserts is nice flavor, but not really something you're going to specifically pick her for. Ashoka the World Conqueror has a very cool name, but it's really only going to shine in formal wars, and even then only if you can manage to take advantage of the celebration buffs. If you do that, he can be strong, but it definitely takes a bit of planning to get this all to work. Ashoka's friendly cousin, the World Renouncer, is way easier to play. The extra food isn't impressive by itself, but getting a happiness adjacency for all improvements on your buildings will make your cities go pretty quickly with a bit of urban planning, and all that happiness will make handling crisis events pretty much trivial. Augustus is a classic. This guy makes your capital shine if you expand, something you want to be doing anyway, and the ability to buy buildings in towns is amazing, especially considering you can do so for cheap. So, you can get those towns up and running pretty quickly. This can fit into pretty much any strategy, so if you're not sure what to do, you can always pick Augustus. I wouldn't be surprised if Benjamin Franklin turns out to be the one I play the most. Getting science on production buildings is awesome to begin with, especially if you can build those buildings way faster than anyone else because you get a production bonus towards doing so. Now, getting more production out of those production buildings is also going to help you build whatever you discover from your technologies, so there's a lot of synergy going on over here. The endeavors are just the cherry on top, I guess, and getting even more science from that is making Benjamin Franklin, I think, by far the most easy to play powerhouse when it comes to science. Catherine the Great is in the game. I mean, great works aren't something you're going to rely on early on, and the Tundra bonus is a bit situational. She'll become stronger as the game progresses for sure, but I'd pick pretty much anyone else over her, especially if you're going to start out in the Ancient Age. Charlemagne is interesting. The main thing here is that the cavalry units you're going to get at the start of a celebration are going to be adding up over time. The bonuses are a little bit circumstantial though, and you'll need a few mementos to make them really shine. That said, the first one you unlock with him after leveling him up does exactly that. So, yeah, I think this can be pretty strong, but it does take a little bit of leveling up for this to actually be up to the power level of some of the other leaders. Confucius, on the other hand, is just plain awesome. Keep in mind that the growth rate is only on cities, not towns, but since your capital is a city, you're going to be benefiting from this from turn 1. The additional science on specialists is going to really stack up in the mid and late game, and all in all, this is just very nice to have. It's not conditional on anything, so you can just pick Confucius and have his benefits be very strong from the first turn until the last turn, regardless of what you're actually trying to do. Friedrich is a great pick if you're going to be doing a lot of conquering. Those great works will start piling in pretty quickly, and you can build up your army by constructing culture buildings to put those great works in, so this is a nice little synergy. Combining culture with warfare is also not a bad way to get yourself some legacy points, so although this needs a pretty specific strategy, I think it is going to be a pretty potent choice for pretty much any aggressive type of gameplay. His cousin the Oblique is similar in the way that he combines science with warfare instead of culture, but I think this one is generally a little bit worse. The command radius that you get is nice, but can also just be overkill depending on how you position your units, and it doesn't really synergize with the other ability like the previous version of Friedrich did. Harriet Tubman makes a very interesting pick for a playthrough where you just want to be left alone. 5 war support makes declaring war against you pretty much a bad idea to begin with, and the espionage actions can be a pain for your neighbors. Basically, what this leader is trying to do is pester your opponents until they declare war on you, and then use your war support to just trample all over them in response. Hatshepsut is not necessarily one of the strongest leaders, as navigable rivers aren't going to be around all over the place, but you're going to likely have one in your capital though, so if you combine her with a nation that also benefits from that, say Egypt, you can get a pretty strong early game going. The culture you get from trading can stack up nicely if you do a lot of that. All in all, this seems to be a leader that doesn't know exactly what she wants to be doing, at least not just by herself. Himiko High Shaman, on the other hand, knows exactly what she wants to be doing, and that is making sure your empire is never unhappy again and zoom through the culture tree while she's at it. Now, that is also all she does, so you're going to need to make her shine through putting those culture bonuses to work for you and leveraging those additional celebrations you get. Now, this is definitely not the easiest to play leader in order to make actual benefits from all of this, but she might make a pretty potent pick if you can make that work. Himiko's twin, the Queen of Wa, on the other hand, is a lot easier to play. Just make friends with all the other civilizations and you will see the signs flooding in. Now, being able to support endeavors for free is also going to help with that a lot, and will not just make sure you get a lot of honor bonuses, but also make sure you have the influence to spend to make even more friends. So there's a lot of synergy going on here for a friendly type of gameplay. Even Battuta is basically the most generalist that you can find among the leaders. It's basically the pick if you don't know exactly what you want to do up front. Or if you just want to customize your leader, because those 2 wildcard points are going to allow you to specialize in anything that you want. This side on units is just always useful, although not particularly strong, and the map trading also helps you make sure you know what's going on in the world. But all in all, this is kind of a blank slate if you want to just design your own leader, more or less. Isabella is another classic, and she's all about natural wonders and ships, and will shine in the exploration age when your navy is going to likely be twice the size of anyone else's. Now, what you do with that is up to you. She typically will start with a natural wonder nearby to make sure you can actually benefit from these abilities, and she can be either really strong with the right starting position, or really bad if you don't find any other wonders anywhere close by to take advantage of. Rizal is another generalist, in this case one that likes to party. You'll get more celebrations, you'll get better celebrations, and a lot of narrative events that make you some culture and gold on top of that. Similar to Himiko, he won't be much use to you if you don't take advantage of those celebrations, but if you do, I think he can be quite strong. Lafayette is probably among the more complicated leaders to play right now. You're going to really need to pay attention to what you put in your policy slots, but if you focus on getting as many of those traditions as you can, your army is going to be very strong. The culture and happiness bonus is also going to help you get those civics unlocked pretty easily, and that does mean that there is some synergy going on here, so it's not a bad leader, it's just one that is more complicated than most of the others. Machiavelli is probably another one of my most favorite leaders. He is the master of influence. The obvious way to abuse this is to play this guy with grease, and you're going to be producing way more influence than anyone else. You're going to get gold pretty much whenever you spend influence, on top of whatever other benefits you gain for that. So if you want to be a diplomatic puppet master and basically just push everyone around behind the scenes, this is who you want to play. Napoleon is pretty much the opposite of Machiavelli and Himiko. He doesn't want to be friends with anyone, because who needs friends if you have a lot of gold? Keep in mind though that you're going to be spending some of that gold on an army to defend yourself with, because, well, if no one likes you in the world, you're going to be in war several times in every age. But if you don't like politics, or you simply want to conquer the world anyway, well, this could be a pretty solid pick. If you want to play Napoleon, but you want to have a less offensive version of him, then the Revolutionary isn't okay, but I think it's generally a less powerful pick. Your army is going to zoom all over the place thanks to the additional movement speed, and you're going to get some culture out of fighting wars, but all in all, I simply think this is not the best option to fight your wars with. Pachacuti is one of those leaders that I simply think is not exciting to play at all. Sure, if you have enough mountains close by, these bonuses are going to be okay and can actually be pretty strong if you have enough mountains, but that relies quite a bit on what map you're actually playing on, so I don't know, just pick this for the flavor, I guess. Tecumseh is another leader that wants to be friends with everyone, but in this case just as long as they're city-states. He doesn't get a bonus to influence by himself though, so you might want to play him with grease to really make him shine and actually be able to have all of those suzerain states under you, but once you get at least a couple of them going, his bonuses do start to stack up. Until then, his bonuses do nothing, so make sure you're aware of that. You're going to be a little bit behind in the early game for sure. Trung Trac is one of the most awesome looking leaders if you ask me, and if you see her army commanders coming at you, you're probably going to want to start running seriously. Add a few tropical cities to that and she'll be an interesting pick for a very aggressive game for sure, as her science focus also helps you ensure you're refilling a strong army along with that commander. That said, last but not least, if you just want to play a straightforward guy in a world domination type of game, pick a Xerxes, King of Kings. He gets a ton of bonuses for attacking, then more bonuses for conquering, and then additional settlement limits to ensure you can keep what you take. I mean, this might just be the strongest leader of the bunch for your first few games for sure. Similarly strong, his cousin the Achaemenid is a strong, peaceful type of guy. Just spam trade routes to anyone you meet and you'll be drowning in gold and culture, and his final ability basically says, build whatever this civilization is good at, and benefit even more than what you would normally get from that. It's not flashy, but it's definitely not a bad pick. Also keep in mind that you're going to get this bonus not just when you establish trade routes, but also when you establish roads. So for example, every time you settle a new town. I hope you found this useful, and I'm going to make a similar type of analysis for the different civilizations. So if you are interested in that type of content, make sure you like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or comments on the leaders, also let me know in the comments. I'm very interested to hear your opinions. And either way, if you're still here, you are awesome, and I hope to catch you in the next one.